right. So I can start. Okay, good. All right, well, hello everyone. Nice to be here. I am in the Bellevue, Washington suburb here from the Seattle area. I've been here for 5 years. I'm really from the Northeast, Connecticut, Massachusetts area. Most of my career I've spent in insurance. I know, very conservative. And I'm determined to die and retire in the high-tech industry. I've done Agile, and I mean like scrappy Agile, like in the weeds with tough personalities, tough people. I'm sure you all, most of you, if not all, can identify with that, where we were commissioned to make magic happen. I've been commissioned for that sincerely since 2014 when I left and started my own consulting on my own, contract work on my own. And I've learned a lot in the last 7-8 years in terms of what really helps people to start moving the needle towards what we're trying to really teach them and get them to learn how to do and well. And so Agile is not an exception. I also have a lot when it comes to, I'm a certified black belt. I love data. I'm a nerd and a geek, depending on the day. I can be both. I love data analysis. I just finished a role with T-Mobile on that, introducing Lean Six Sigma to the organization. So I try to become this Jackie of all trades of understanding change, which is something that I tripped up on, literally tripped. I was like, I am like out of tools. I'm using project management because that's where I started, traditional PMI certified, all this. And I would be tripping, like I am missing tools here. And that's when they started talking about healthcare reform in the late 2010s, 9, 10 into the early. And I became like, what the heck is that? Transformation, what do they mean by that? Really, really, what does that look like, smell like, taste like? And boy, I asked the universe and the universe responded, careful what, they always say that, it's careful what you ask for. And then since then, I have been, I've had my moments of darkness where I have felt alone in this journey, where even the people that brought you on board to make magic happen are having second thoughts about, oh my God, is this too much for people? Or do we have what it takes? All these kind of things. So this is what has put me in front of you, my passion for working through those difficult scenarios, situations, relationships, and being able to at the end of that, be able to still be some level of effectiveness, and being able to still move the needle, even though the odds were really against me in so many different ways with different organizations. So I hope that what I bring to you is not just another resume. You can see me in LinkedIn if you're interested. I'm one of those, I'm not gonna talk about all the stuff that I've done in terms, the specifics, but if you care and you're bored, look me up in LinkedIn and you can get more. But I really, hopefully you'll get the sense that I really do care. That's also been my saving grace in dealing with people, is that I try to be as genuine and sincere and honest as I can, while still driving, the agenda that I've been commissioned to drive. So Agile Wizards, and please know this is where I come from. Agile Wizards, in my experience, are more moving and the swords and all the different things, the things that help us to, the tools and the things that we use to fend and protect and all these other things, where the change sorcerers use more of their minds to make magic happen. And so that's why the question is posed, so that you can think about it. And as an icebreaker, I want you to think, I'm sorry, let me put this in presentation mode. I want you to think, as I love this picture. I have this in different decks and what have you, because it reminds me of like the scrappiness of the whole Scrum and the things that we're trying to do as Agilists, regardless if it's Scrum or some other hybrid of it. It's really tough. So my first poll question to you, I gave you the link. Make sure you all have that link open, leave it open. in one of your tabbies. And if you just, because here I can keep track of the responses, but basically, what do you think you are? Are you more on the Agile? Are you more of your execution? You're more driven by doing things? Or are you more of a thinker, strategist, and kind of do your magic and your spells to be able to help people change? Both or neither. You can choose whatever it fits for you. And I just wanted to see what I don't see both. I am glad whoever voted for both. I'm going to minimize myself here because I want to be able to get to see you guys. But isn't that the truth? I think this is a great, I'm like, we're going to have fun because I've had to sometimes convince some people or show them more. I shouldn't say convince, but kind of say, listen, you haven't thought of yourself as an educator, but guess what? You are an educator. You really are in the middle of adult transformations. And that means that you're going to be teaching and sometimes coaching and sometimes this and the other thing. So I agree. Sometimes we're more one thing, depending on the maturity level of the organization. And hopefully you find that, and sometimes we're both. I mean, it can be all over God's creation, and that's what the complexity that I think it's added to our shoulders many times. So thank you for that. I want to continue on this flavor of which we're going to do a poll on that first question of like what are the basic areas of or categories, if you will, of how we learn. What is that adult learning? As kids, it's a whole different story, and you can follow the psychology and the not only the psychology and the psychiatry behind it, but also you can look at all the scientific evidence we have. But as adults, we cannot just sit there in a classroom and be lectured to. In fact, I didn't even do well even when I was a kid doing that. I was more of a doer. I wanted people to actually let me do things, get my hands in there. You may be like me. So experience. Some of us are practice. I'm like, well, let me consult, and I'm going to Sherry, or I'm going to ask somebody in my network, and then I'm going to then practice what they're transferring to me. Or some of you is just informal conversations, water cooler conversations, whatever that might be. And some of you, reflection. And if you're like me, I do a combination of things depending on what I'm doing and what I'm trying to get across. But I want you to think about that, because these have been the 4 areas scientifically that have been identified as this is how we really come to learn as adults. And I'm going to ask you back. I'm going to do the poll, and then we're going to come back because I'd like to hear from anybody that is willing to tell me, how do you know once you answer this question? So pick 2 areas that you say, Rosis, at the end of the day, these are my 2 top when it comes to help me to make the most effective, make the best decisions on problems, or bring the best creativity so that I can get to a solution or the solutions. And tell me, what are your top 2 from just you? Don't think of your team yet. I have questions about that later. But for now, think of yourself and tell me, what are the 2 areas on how you best learn and how to be able to go into the world and solve problems, create and provide solutions. Oh my God, I love this audience. Dear Lord. Reflection. Oh, this is awesome. You guys get that. Oh boy. We're gonna, because this is going to tie right into the transformative adult mind, to make those things that will never, it's like you learn it and you'll never revert back to the way that you used to do it. That's what technology has been doing for us in the 21st century. If we don't remember the 50s on when, we have big computers in big rooms and buildings. But basically, this is what it comes down to. If we can reflect, we can think and go like the retros, right? And I'm not surprised that we as Agilists get that reflection component, where a lot of people, even in training and development, in HR, do not make that direct connection to reflection. So kudos on that. Experiences, of course. And that's me, I've always been like that since I was a kid. If you just tell me, I hate to tell you, but we're gonna have to repeat it. Like, you gotta tell me while we're doing it. Rosis, put your hand here. Rosis, put your hand, do this. I mean, you gotta guide me through that. And guess what? It's as adults, we're just if anything, it's not just as a kid. We definitely need to go through that, not just be told and lecture to death about things like that. So thank you for providing that information. So now talking more from another angle on learning and development, we can also look at specific activities. Okay, we had the 4 categories, but then we can fit them into 3 specific categories of activities, events, things that we can trigger for our stakeholders, our team members. And that is through what we just identified: reflection, innovation, auditing, reviewing, other roles and responsibilities, challenging task, and problem solving. It's all the do, execute, try, error. Yeah, I failed. And like we say, fail fast, come back, get up, do it again. Do it in a way that reflects the learning that you've done. 20, it's really examples of how do we do it together? So yes, it is important to do it together, but if we don't get to master it ourselves individually, it's very difficult to be comfortable doing it with others. So hopefully that makes sense. And then of course the last 10%, and hopefully you're not surprised about this, it's training in the way of the courses, the modules, the workshops, the master classes, everything e-learning, asynchronous, a lot of asynchronous through this whole pandemic. I think you guys get it. Yeah, there's some reflection there too. But if we don't get to experience it and put it into action, it usually gets lost, or it's easy for us to forget the things that we only get to train on and think about it while somebody's telling us about it. The more senses you engage, the better and the longer lasting you will make in terms of that, not only impression, but the activator, the trigger for them to say, oh, I get that, Agile. Now I understand how best to do the backlog grooming. That made sense, providing those opportunities. So I need to ask you guys on this. Can anyone want to volunteer? How do you know, going back to our experiences and reflection, if you have an example, no biggie, if you don't, I'm not gonna pressure you now, but anybody that says, hey, I was one of them, whichever you voted for, what are the things that when you think about maybe even recent stuff, tell me where in these categories, what made a difference for you? Maybe for positive, maybe not immediately positive. Maybe it was like, oh, I had to take a step back. I reflected on that, and then I decided to scrap my plan, and then I went in a different direction. Whatever that is, tell me something that would give us a good illustration of how you were able to use that area to achieve your goal or objective. Do I need to pick up on participants? I will pick on names. See, I don't know anybody, so you guys know that I don't have any agenda. Nicole, any thoughts? I'll start with you. Any thoughts on anything that, from experience to reflection lately, that has helped you, even if it wasn't an immediate win, but eventually you were able to gain better insights or better understanding?
So for me, I call it a marinator.
Yes.
So taking time to hear things and then think about it. So like I just got back from a conference, and I do written notes, and then I'll write it down. So from, training from the back of the room of like all the things you need to do to remember it. So reflection really helps me personally retain.
Yes, no, it's true, both. Both of them. And there's a psychology, I don't know if you've heard it, when we write it, and then some of us, I know this is old school, you write it, and then you're like, okay, either I scan it or I type it. 2-3 times of that kind of touching and being around the information that you wrote and all that, it becomes even more solid in your head. And I'm like, yeah, and more easily, you remember better than if you just use one sense and don't engage all the other senses. So that's why we say touch, feel. If you can lick it, even better. But there's not a whole lot in Agile sometimes that we can lick. If you could get a taste of that. And I'm being sometimes, let me tell you, without a sense of humor, I'd be crazy at this point, just on the Agile, on helping organizations start their movement on Agile Scrum. I'd be crazy if I didn't have a sense of humor. So forgive me if that gets on your nerves. I'm not trying to do that at all. Okay, now let's, let me get rid of my window and go back to, now we're going to do the same for these 3 areas. And I just want you to pick one. Pick an area where you say, hey, Rosis, this is, if I can, oh, here it is. If I can, oops, I hate it when it goes that high. You know, these are the 3 aspects of my learning and development. And this is how I get to influence my team the most to be Agile minded and be specific, because we're Agilists. Think of them and go, how do I best, where do I tend to have a knee-jerk reaction to, or where I tend to default? Is it on the job? I'm going to be there with you. Believe me, I've done so many of these, I've lost count. Being next to the person, sitting next to the person, going through it, reviewing, auditing, whatever it is that you need to do. Or letting them do it on their own, because that would be, you know, hey, I'm gonna coach you, but then I'm going to let you do your thing and see if you can figure it out the next, you know, and repeat that process for others. Or completing courses, modules, workshops, master classes, e-learning, seminars. Some of you, and I know, very rare do we find people that they get a lot more than 10% from asynchronous training and development, where they can just listen to videos and interact with that, not real person live in live training. And just so if you can just click on that, that'd be awesome, so that we can see on the top. Oh my God, yes. So how many, let me see if I can see if anybody puts the hands on. How many of you have done or are doing the Agile coach role, where you're actually, that's your role? I've had that too, not just and I can't, hold on, how can I see you guys get back to, you can tell I'm so used to Teams, I'm still navigating my way through to be able to see you guys here. Hands, oh, Nicole, I see hands. Could you put them up again so I can see? Let me see who else. Oh, come on, it cannot just be Nicole. That okay, well, I guess Nicole is the only one that's giving me her hand. Okay, I'm gonna say you guys, okay, that you guys Bindu, yes, that you guys are warming up. But yes, oh, there's 33. There is, believe it or not, there are some of us that have our moments. Like when I'm learning something new from scratch, don't give me a coach yet, and don't put me to do it for real life, right? Like don't put me yet in the spotlight. Let me do my asynchronous. I'm sitting there, pausing the video, learning, reading, coming back. And I tend to also identify that with the 29%. But then again, I've also done the Agile coach, so I totally understand. But guess what? This is a good mind for us as Agilists and leaders and managers in this turf, because we get that until they put it into their work from day to day, it's not going to become, they're not going to be really good at it, right? Just like any top performer in the world, from athletes to musicians, they at it every day. It's not something you just do once a month, once a week. None of that. It's really intense. Thank you so much for that, guys. I appreciate that. Ooh, ninja learning. What is today's session all about? I think I already started to break the ice with this. We're gonna go through the 10, so I'm just gonna give you a glance of that, which was part of the meetup. You probably have already seen the list. I'm gonna hopefully bring this to life. Hopefully we'll give it birth together to what are these 10 things, 10 steps that we can take to make this happen and facilitate, for the love of God, this learning that we want our folks to really adopt and then show and demonstrate consistently that they're doing. So, I mean, there's some more, if you will, more of the clinical kind of responses, like expansion of the consciousness through which we answer ourselves. We question ourselves about our feelings, which I think it makes sense. Yeah, I get to, step back and kind of see myself. Kind of weird. I don't have to say, I'm gonna look at myself, right? In retro, but we get the retros. Learning that completely rewires and transforms. Now, this is my favorite. It wasn't me that wrote it, but this is my experience. It is the kind of learning that I will rewire. It will generate new code And I will never be able to process in this machine, in this computer, I will never be able to process with the old code again. I am now living a new belief. I'm into new assumptions. I have stretched my biases. I understand new perspectives. And now I'm in I see better breakthrough. I see better the path that I've been on so far. And this happened to me like first organization, second organization, third. Every time I would go back and go, oh, I'll never be the same. I will never be the same Agilist. I'm not the same Agilist as of last year, or even 6 months ago. So that I'm harping on that because I love that definition. You may also hopefully connect with that. A process through which individuals learn about how to increase their motivation, self-governance, logical thinking, collaboration, and empathy. You see, these are things that you and I can influence, but we can't force people to do this, even children. To do things like that, it's almost impossible. So that's why I want to go through the topics of the 10 steps, because whatever I can transfer to you and make your lives easier, I am all for it. The ability to reflect on things that we may have taken for granted. This happens. I can tell you in a marriage of 25 years, I was married 25 years, and you take each other for granted. You know, like some duties and tasks, it was like, he does it. I don't have to even think about it. So we've all had, I'm just giving that as an example, but we've all done that in relationships, not just a spouse. It could be just anybody. At the end of the day, this kind of transformative learning allows us to also see things from their perspective. That's going to be key as we go forward. The ability to reflect on things that may have taken, that we haven't taken for granted. That goes back to, I already covered that. And then transformative learning triggers range. I want you to think, when you hear transformation, I want you to think like, oh my God, pandemic, something that global, which it is, it transforms, but it's not, most of us will not go in our lifetime through major changes, global changes like that on a regular basis. Not so far, knock on wood. But it could be from, you're asking me, like this happened just recently. I joined GitHub and they put me on a Mac. Yes, computer. I've been in Windows environment, PC environment for 20 some years. And then I get this new, beautiful Mac. And I'm like, I start to type and letters, things are not coming up the way that I normally, things should come, because I know how to type even in my sleep. I can close my eyes, and I'm one of those people. I can type, I can write a letter. And when I started, and then I'm looking for this command key. I'm like, what is command key? All of a sudden, I couldn't even copy and paste. Okay, that's how. So it could be from little annoying things like that, or you taking away the coffee in the morning or the hot cocoa and saying, what? You're going to take that away from me? And now all the way to my son died. My mom died. I'm terminally ill. I have cancer and I only have 3 months to live, right? So I don't want you to think that transformations are just one like big category. It must be something major, earth shattering, it could be as little as you just moved my computer, or you just took something and you're asking me to do this differently, and now I have to log into another computer to get this answer, or another application, to all the bigger things in life. So I don't want you guys to get locked into that. Let's start with phase one. Phase one. Disorienting dilemmas. When I heard this expression, I thought, what the heck is that? Disorienting dilemmas. Now I love to talk about disorienting dilemmas and introducing even family members into this disorienting dilemma situation. So this is where you find that what you thought or believed in the past may not be accurate. I want to repeat that because that's heavy. I mean, if you really think about it. It's a situation where you find that what you thought or believed in the past may not be accurate. And guess what? When we come as Agilists and we bring this, I'm going to do a decomposition, like I introduced this, at one of the health insurance companies that I work for. And it was like, let's introduce work decomposition. We were trying to use very friendly terms. And how do we break it down, right? How do we break down the work? sizing, estimating, all that wonderful stuff that we do. And if you're new to this, that's what I'm asking you to do, is I want you to start believing in this thing that we call decomposition, even though you have no experience and maybe you tried it in the past and it wasn't accurate. And you're saying, I don't know if I want to do that. That's how, right? We start to get, we start to see our stakeholders, our team members, kind of resist the change. And it can be very painful. I've been through a lot of that. New information that causes a person to call into question their values. That's happened to me. It's very painful. This was personal for me, not about 15 years ago. I was going through religion. I was just all of a sudden everything. I said, what do you believe? If you take away religion and you take away your family values and what has been forced and enforced and instilled in me, who am I? And I went in that quest. So I can tell you, if you want to have a side conversation on that, that was like, but you know what? It was painful. But then at the end, it was liberating. It took me a few years to figure that out. But it could be things like that. It could be like meaning structure. That means this, when I see this, I know this is a pen. And if you come and you say to me, this is also a pen, and you're saying, take off the cap. No, that's not a pen. So I am giving a different interpretation of the same thing that you've always thought of as a pen. And this happens many times. Think about also in your work and the things that you do and the conflicts that you probably have also had to address in terms of you're giving something that has this kind of meaning like Agile, and they're going, but that doesn't match my experiences. So I don't know what you're trying to tell me, right? The catalyst for perspective transformation. So disorienting dilemmas will act as that if we allow that reflection and other things to come through, other steps we're going to cover. And then new situations that force us to evaluate, assess, or redefine your current meaning models. Now that's painful too, because again, we are taught since we are very early on in life as babies, and we go toddlers, and we go through the K through 12 and all those in between years and phases. And we have to remember that all of us coming to the workplace and into organizations from different walks of life, you may be coming from the same country, and you may still be like, we have different, complete opposite beliefs when it comes to family values, things that are really deep and embedded in ourselves, in our souls. And that's why if you're experiencing, and you've experienced a lot of trauma in getting people to change, you're right on schedule. I hate to say it. It's because what we're trying to do with them or trying to influence is very dear, things that are very core value, like very core. And that's why it's very difficult. Our job is very difficult. So I want to ask you, based on what I just shared with you, do you feel, or have you believe and you think like, yes, Rosis, I have dealt based on those definitions and different angles to that, I have dealt with a disorienting dilemma. Please feel free to say yes, no, you don't know, or I'm not sure, because I was in that when I started this whole journey on transformation and I didn't know. So please feel free to share where you might be at. Oh, wow. Ooh, rich. This is a rich audience. Oh my God. We got a lot of things that we've been, and I gotta be honest with you. Is it just me, or do you also feel like as Agilists, we get to confront a lot of disorienting dilemmas? Any hands out there? Anybody? Like, I'm trying to see if I can see anybody says, yeah, Rosis, I go through a lot of this, and I've had to help people through that kind of painful process so that they can be better at something that we know is going to work for them. Okay, so I don't have anybody that I need to, there's no needing to convince and oversell this, but this is where I spend the most time, in case you're wondering. This is where I spend the most time, because disorienting dilemmas are the first thing that everything else after that, to me, hopefully you'll feel the same way. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now that sends us into that self-examination. They go hand in hand, right? What? You mean I've thought of marriage in the monogamous way, and now you're telling me open relationship, and I've never, what? You know, I'm just coming up with all kinds of different examples. And you're saying I need to, what? I need to examine, I need to reevaluate, reassess. And now you need to also question. Even if you don't come with those thoughts, you're really questioning your motivation, your behaviors, your actions, things that you thought you may start to see yourself from a different angle and go, I'm not so yellow after all. There's some red in here. You are going to most likely end up seeing yourself and the world around you differently. That self-awareness is priceless. I think if you guys have been through, all of us have been through disorienting dilemmas, I'm going to tell you, we have been through some form, directly, indirectly, a combination, a hybrid of these things. I don't even need to ask about that. I know that if you've gone through that, you have become more aware of you, how you respond to the conflicts that are brought to us, that happen as we walk when we were in the office, or as we virtually check with each other, the things that can happen. So self-examination is it's just a given. You're going to trip on that, and then, come back now with what I say. That assessment is going to lead you to also look at assumptions, right? I'm becoming, for example, this is a little assumption. My assumption in doing today's sharing with you guys was that Sherry was going to set this out. She was going to, set up the Zoom, put the event out there. So you see what I'm saying? We have assumptions that we never speak about from day to day, from home, school, church, whatever, wherever you go and whatever you're connected to. We have assumptions. This is where, through those triggering disorienting dilemmas, and now I'm looking at myself more critically. Now I'm going to also start going like, well, I assumed that. And it's honest. I told you at the beginning, I was married 25 years. And I look back, and now that I'm more aware about so many things, I'm like, wow, I assumed a lot. I assumed a lot of things, which is, as we talk to human, it's not that, I don't know. I know that I'm not the only person that has these things from work, doctors. It doesn't matter where we are. We have expectations of the world and the assumptions that we make about that. So many times we have to kind of revisit those. And I'm going to just highlight the last one. In this world of so many movements that we've seen, so many inequalities in the world, not here to talk about those, but what I'm trying to say is, regardless of our position individually and collectively, it's more, we have all unconscious biases. It's more, how willing are we to open up, expand the biases? Because we don't want to get rid of biases, and hopefully you understand that. You don't want your kid to not be fearful, because that's where it started, on the street. I still, as an adult, even though the sign says walk, I still look to the sides, because I am like, just in case somebody's not following the rules, I want to make sure I don't get trampled, I get hit. So we have assumptions, we have unconscious biases. We just need to find the time to reflect on a regular basis to understand and connect with those unconscious biases. I'm of mixed race. I got Black, white, Latino, name it, I have it, Indian. I mean, it's like, I'm a hodgepodge. So, but what I love about myself is that, and my heritage is that we mix, and, we don't discriminate. So you could be from Asia, bring it on. We just very open to different races and colors and name it, genders, that. So I like that about my heritage. But even though I grew up very open, like I didn't even know the shades of color. Like we had people that were chocolate and milk, and there was a couple, mixed race couple. We didn't even know what mixed race was at that point, but they were a family. And so we all have those, no matter, even if you grew up more on my end, where things were a lot more loosey-goosey in terms of defining people. We were just people, right? But at the end of the day, there's still assumptions about men. Men in my culture tend to be more of the macho, more, we are the patriarchs of the society. And so there are things that because of that, I have my own biases, sometimes against men, telling me how to do or what to do. So we can all find our ways to relate to that, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to do our next assessment. We're going to take a break if you guys need it. But basically what I want you to do is Do you regularly assess your assumptions or unconscious biases, especially when introducing new lessons to your team? I'm putting you in the leadership management role. Think of it as you're the agilist, you're the coach, you're name it, because we wear many hats. At the end of the day, do you feel that you do enough assessing on those assumptions and unconscious biases? And I'd like to, if anybody wants to raise their hand, do you find that often we just don't have time? Life is, there's so much going on and so much we're trying to do a multitask that we don't have to assess those things? Or is anybody open to sharing what may be some of the things that you find get in the way of being able to do some assessments of the assumptions and the biases that we have? Anyone? Oh, come on. Anyone?
I'll play with you. For me, it's one, remembering, because this is busy.
Right.
And then just timing.
Timing.
I'm dealing with global teams. I have like 1 hour and 15 minutes overlap to get anything I need done. So
right.
It's not a good reason.
No, but it's real, isn't it? It's real. It's reality. And we as adults are also taxed with a lot. And Agilists are no exception. If anything, I feel like I have a special place in my heart for people that are introducing change. I don't care what you call yourself or what role you have. At the end of the day, you're dealing with humans, because it's easy to deal with robots. I tell people, you don't need me if you have robots, because you can program them to do whatever you want, whenever you want it, on demand. But when we deal with people, that's where we need to then build a different hero cape for us to be able to approach and connect with all those difficult stakeholders, because we have those. Of course, we have the wonderful, easy ones that are always ready to make the change happen and are cheerleaders, but we also have a lot of the other side that weighs us down. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. This is, now I'm starting to get, as you see, as we get through the faces, there's going to be less to talk, because I feel like we're already here. Recognition that others share similar transformations. Of course, we have support groups. Think about it. I'll call this AA, not AA, triple A and double A. We got all kinds of support groups for people that have lost family or friends to homicide. We've got support. Oh my God, I mean, we can go on and on, but cancer or cancer survivors, people that are going to die, and now they need, they want to be along among other people that are facing the same dilemma as well as others. So we are used to, humans is easy for us, and we kind of like that, finding people that understand our plight. Where am I? And Agilists and this community, I'm hoping that you guys have been able to find in your community of practice, if you will, ways to also relate to one another and support one another and encourage one another. So even if they don't share similar transformations or situations, this space facilitates the ability to identify what is so different between them and why. If nothing else, you will increase that likelihood of me, you, us understanding the similar experiences or situations. And this is the hard part. That I tend to, this is how I gauge maturity levels within adults. So if you're saying you're over 18 up, my test in my mind is, how easy is it for you to put yourself in another person's shoes, see the world from their perspective based on what you know about them, and looking from their end to you. It's like totally 180 and switching roles, which we see a lot of movies on this, the theme of switching, I'm in your body, you're in my body, and kind of going through that. And although it's not so funny, maybe for a lot of us, we've seen so many of them on TV, different actors and what have you, but at the end of the day, it does help us to better understand what my son is going through, what my daughter is going through, or my daughter understands me better when I tell her, I can't buy you that, because we have to, I got to fix the AC, honey. And the money that I was counting to help you with that is no longer there. So if nothing else, this is also going to pave the way for you to be able to understand more holistically purpose, people, where are they headed, why are they headed this way or the other way. So broadens that sense of your of purpose in the world for you, others, and be able to easily rotate, if you will, those different roles and responsibilities. So please, I know that as Agilists, we tend to also, like by the nature of what we do, most Agilists that I've known is they really have a passion for what they're doing. And so, because this is not a job for the weak at heart, let's be honest. This is, you got to have some kind of Teflon, things that don't, get that Teflon coating so that, you can let things kind of slide and not take it too personally to be able to survive in this field for longer than 2-3 years. So, okay. If somebody, because I don't have all of you, to see if there's a hand or something like that, just please just unmute yourself if you would. I would appreciate it, and just say, hey, Rosis, I'd like to interject. And then exploration of new roles and actions. So this is all leading up to, I've done the reflection, I've done the assessment, I've looked at my assumptions and my biases, and Rosis, I am really understanding, I'm putting myself in somebody else's shoes and I'm understanding their role. I did shadowing, I shadowed Michelle, and she's right, that backlog, when they do this, the way that they're grooming it, now understand better why they are not successful. And so now I can interject more directly to what, because now you're exploring that. So this is what this whole thing is about. You're already mentally walking through from the disorienting dilemma to step 5 and being able to say, now that I understand better, I'm in a better position to create, design, or suggest a new way of approaching this role, and maybe some actionable. Say, product owner, you in the past have not been fully engaged 100% doing the back loop, and believe me, this happens, I'm sure. I don't even have to ask for hands. Product owners that do not do the backlog grooming the way that they're supposed to do it, they delegated that responsibility to other team members, developers, and analysts, and you're like, oh boy. And so for us to be able to come up with a compassionate way of addressing the role or enhancing that role is saying, I know you've been doing only 40, or don't say only, or you've been doing about 40% or just these items. It would be great. And this is why I believe that if we enhance your role to be this, that, and that, these are the benefits, and sell them on the benefits, not just the role, the new role or the action. It's like, if I hear you've had this as a concern, as a problem, as a showstopper. What if you started, or somebody else in your team, if it belongs somewhere else, started to do this, this, and that? So this is where we start talking. This is at the stage where we've paved the way by understanding people from before they even start talking about the roles, and I don't like this, or I don't understand why we need to do this Agile thing, all these other things. We start to understand that they're going to come to us with biases, all different things that have not worked for them. And now it's up to us to help them see a different perspective. And so these are the steps that will help you. And I love the last bullet on this is create or foster deeper relationships with team members as they look to you to help them complete their new tasks in their new roles. We're doing this, but I'm hoping that after today, after going through these phases and steps, that you will be able to have a more holistic understanding of all the things that are happening within the minds of your adults that are you're teaching and you're coaching and whatever it is, mentoring, whatever you're doing. At the end of the day, your understanding of that will help you to also ask questions that perhaps you have not asked yet, to help you understand more how they process a problem, how they process it, or how they perceive a conflict, and how are they able to work through that, for example. So those are the things that I think are going to leave you now a lot more empowered to be able to address changes, hopefully from a more positive and empowered position, because you are, even if the people, our superiors, our leaders and managers don't, we have each other as a community to be able to reinforce that and say, yes, we do. We support each other as we go forth and create change. Have you explored new roles or skills that increase agile practices within your teams? And just think about the last month, last quarter, last 3 months, and tell me where do you fall on that? And again, there's no right or wrong reason. It's like, yes. I mean, it's hard not to, as an agilist, it's hard not to explore new roles or skills. I think we're always being challenged but for different reasons, to come up with something creative that we can, entertain something new to add or switch. Sometimes it's like, I'd like the BA to stop doing that. I want the Scrum Master to do that, for example. All right, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop sharing because I want to see bio breaks. If you're like me, you may need to go to the bathroom or get something to drink. Is this okay, guys? Are we doing so far so good? It's not going to take that long for the last 5 because it's kind of like what we do already. It's more I'm connecting. The 5 first are so critical to the foundation. The last 5 is just, you're going to go like, yeah, that's an action plan. We need to, of course, we got to put it into an action plan, things like that. Nicole, anybody else? Okay. So why don't we say, can we afford 5 minutes of a break, guys? Nicole or Sherry?
Yeah, 5 minutes, I think.
We can? Okay, so 6:04 for me, could we say by 6:10? Come back and wrap it up?
Yeah, 7:10 our time. Most of us are in Mountain.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay, but we also probably have people
5
from
minutes,
other places.
Okay, yeah, 7:05, depending where you are, but in 5 minutes.
All right.
All right, guys, thank you. I'll be right back. Okay. We're done. Here. Renewals. Okay, here we go. Okay. Are we ready? Okay, good, thank you. I like thumbs. Okay, so we're gonna fly through this because I don't wanna bore us with the stuff that normally we do from a business perspective, organizational perspective, and that's, hey, you know, we have some new roles we've gotten to explore, we have assessed, we've done all the other stuff that we needed, retrospective things that we needed to do. Now let's put it into action. So once I call the first 5 phases is going up the mountain, and once you get to the summit, then it's 6 through 10. And it's about the implementation. That's what, which, not saying that it's easy, it just changes from being very brain focused and head on thinking, assessing anything, you know, everything within me and my team. And now we exteriorize, we go on the outside and say, now we're gonna show each other how we're gonna do this based on what we now, our new beliefs or enhanced beliefs and understanding. Let's build this plan. And not only are we building the plan for plan's sake, if you're not doing planning and everything else from a project perspective, a sprint perspective, whichever terminology you use, if you're not using it for confidence, I would like to suggest that you consider doing things sometimes just for the sake of building confidence in your team. I learned that also the hard way. I was focusing at the beginning when I would go into new organizations on the twos, the how-tos, and the role and the description, roles and responsibilities. And I wasn't paying attention too much and like, hey, how do I help you not only connect to these new things that are on this piece of paper, I'm going to also help you build your confidence, and not saying it out loud, but intentionally having that in my forefront and walking into every one of my ceremonies with that in mind. I want to build confidence. Yeah, you may have sucked at doing, you know, the backlog programming, well, but you know, when you got to that demo, boy, you rocked it. So I'm going to focus on that demo because I love this, and that, even if it's just one thing. And I'm going to build on that. And this has been my other piece of my saving grace, if you will. I'm a great cheerleader. You probably can tell. People laugh a lot, you know, so they make fun of me because of that, my high energy. And I've used it to really start when I'm deployed, especially to a new organization and I'm the consultant. I am there first to build trust and to be just another person that is part of the team. Yeah, they know that I'm not an employee or anything like that, but at the end of the day, I want them to start knowing me for my confidence building, if nothing else. It's like, oh my God, and I tell them, oh, I'm looking for opportunities to put that spotlight on you. And a lot of my team members have come back and said, you're just different. You're not the usual traditional consultant. You don't tell us what to do. And I'm like, yeah, hallelujah. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to influence, if nothing else, to influence you in why you should increase your practices, your agile practices, period. And based on that, the action plan starts to flourish. So everything else, as you know, facilitates the development, the strategy, everything that you want to do, connect to this, the new perspective, the new learning, the people. This is where things start to happen. All the resources start coming together. Acquisition of knowledge. Yeah, well, we are definitely gaining clarity because now you're doing it. One thing is planning, but once I get on stage and now have to perform, I am in a different light and a different pressure and different microscope. And so the clarity that I will gain through doing something that I don't have a lot of experience doing. I don't have a lot of knowledge. I'm still kind of like, feel like an ugly duckling. those are the things that in this phase we want to. That's why cheerleading is great, paves the way for people to gain the confidence so that they're not so self-conscious when it comes to doing the new things in front of others. And so that's how that can help. We have a lot to say as Agilists, as leaders and managers in this turf, to help people to go in a way that they feel they're not only supported, encouraged, but we're going to foster that environment where they can thrive. And that's where, you know, you have to get there is painful, and sometimes more painful than other times, but nevertheless, to get to that, the clarity that is gained across from your perspective, their perspective, everyone's perspective is going to be golden. It's platinum, whatever's higher, it's going to be that valuable. And the reflection on your plan, because you're going to be checking. Yeah, that's part of your job, right? We check on people all the time, every day. We're checking to make sure, did you get that? How is the practice? How's it coming? What do you need? Look at our stand-ups. What you do yesterday, what the progress, what you planned for today, and the obstacles. It's kind of the same thing. So that's why I don't regurgitate, even though this came from the education field, Maslow, it's still, we're used to it. And that this is the only thing I'm going to say caveat is know that this phase takes extensive work and effort. It doesn't happen overnight. We don't learn to run overnight as children, grown-ups the same way. When we do it the first time, it might not be our best performance. That's okay. We're there to tell people that's okay. We're going to keep at it, and we're going to be there supporting each other to make it so that we can get to a comfortable place where I can be confident. Trying new roles for the plan. Again, stick to the plan. Yeah, not to create, we're not into documentation and a lot of things, but whatever you decide, keep doing it until you decide to do otherwise, right? Put the new skills. Something didn't work. This is the nature of what we do in it, not only in Agile, Scrum, and any other turf. We just go, okay, we tweak it. Let's fail fast. Let's do it. Let's try it. Okay, didn't work. Let's move. Get that feedback. And a lot of from Lean Six Sigma, we have that closed loop feedback process. It says, hey, you plan, you execute, you test it. Did it work? What worked? What did not? And then you replan. You keep doing it. It's an iterative. We're used to iterative. The point here is to just be active. Make sure, give it a try before you give up. And that's what I ask people, especially those that have been like, I don't want to do this Agile thing. I don't want to do this. All kinds of excuses at times. I just tell them, have you tried this? And I usually am trying to find something that is outside the box, way outside. And they'll go, no. Okay, will you at least give that chance to just work it once and see how it goes? And I've been able to, get at least half of them to try it, because it's something that they don't have an excuse or anything that they can put right on the table and say, no, I'm not gonna do that. So, try new roles. Okay, do you actively seek opportunities to stress your knowledge, skills, or biases? Now, this is for you, because we've been talking about the team for a while. Now, what about you guys? Do you feel that you are also putting yourself, taking those disorienting dilemmas, because you're having them too, not just them, everybody for different reasons, and you're saying, okay, I gotta stretch. I gotta do more with less, working smart. I need to work smarter when it comes to the skills, the transferring, how they interact with each other to transfer that knowledge. So I'm not surprised with Agilists that we are definitely always looking for those opportunities. So great team. Development of competence and self-confidence, it all kind of adds up. It's just like you're walking, then you're starting to jog, and then you're starting to run, and then maybe you can sprint, oh wow, so all those kind of things it's you're developing that competence, that self-confidence, because at the end of the day, if nothing else, sometimes I say, if all I did today was inspire someone to do their best and to have confidence in themselves, I'm gonna make sure, I tell myself, I'm going to sleep very well tonight. And I intentionally tell myself out loud that too. I sound funny to the rest of you, but I do talk to myself and say, this is your intention. And so And so it will be. And so I go with that intention, and I have been able to see a lot of cases where people have given up on other people. And I've gone in and I've said, yeah, like some people try to bias me, maybe against that person. At the end of the day, I'm just still going to try to really see what can I do to make this successful for you as well. And so encourage others, help them, but make your own decisions, empower them to make, because we all made our own decisions in many ways. If we know what the parameters are, this is the play area that we can do, how far we can go, then you can make your own decisions. But yes, don't go crazy making decisions on your own if you're still not a formed performing team, because that takes time to get there while you're still training and teaching them. And last but not least, reintegration into life on the basis of the new perspective. So whatever you've learned, now that you're starting to practice and you start to gain confidence, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I'm rocking it. Now that's where they reintegrate. You just fall into, you don't even have to try phase 10, you fall into it, because you will, and that's what I say, you'll never go back, because now you've shown them, this is how work can be better. That's sprint. That's why we like those sprints, because we can get focused, we get all psyched and scrummed up, and we're like just going at it. We stop, we retro, we look at all demo data, all these things, and then we redo it again. We are already on this kind of closed loop iterative cycle. So when I saw this through my PhD program, I went, oh, a lot of us are already familiar with this. We just don't have a lot on that whole, how do we trigger those disorienting dilemmas? That was the part that I was missing, but I know most of you will also relate. The phase 5 to 10 is a lot of what you're already doing, that you don't have to really work that hard to create that mindset. And so the only thing I want to repeat here and kind of hone on is 2 things, actually. Reflection, which I'm not even going to say more because this team gets it, or this group of people gets it today. And number 2 is, when we say create opportunities for critical discourse, it sounds very academic, and I left it there on purpose, but basically because I looked at other phrases and nothing convinced me or made sense to me than saying critical discourse is like the debate societies that, like from school, if you guys remember, the debate team. It's kind of that kind of creating those opportunities, not to just go against each other's thoughts and beliefs and biases and all that. It's more so that you help them to see the world from different angles, different perspectives. And even though they might not like what I have to say or you have to say, at the end they'll hear it. And they'll have to be like, oh, yeah, I never considered that. I never had even that thought. And also the people that are making their discourse or proposing or putting things on the table get an opportunity to build more of their self-confidence in putting forth an idea. How do we create? How do we innovate? If we don't have those functional, not dysfunctional, but functional ways of addressing opposing teams and opinions and thoughts and perspectives, we are not going to, 2 things, they're not going to get really good at expressing and communicating why we still believe it should be maybe the opposite, or 2, be able to also make sure that what I believe, right? So if I have to defend my position, then hopefully I can grow stronger in my position. But if it makes me question, then you have a disoriented dilemma. So that goes back to step 1. You got to go back to the drawing board and say, wait, I thought I went through that discourse and we had that debate. That was great, but I walked away with some doubts. Doubts is another way to say disorienting dilemma as well. So this is a repeat. You can, it doesn't mean that it always follows the same order. Sometimes I come in 4, but then I might have to go back to 1 or 2. And then I'm ready to do some new roles. So please don't let this dictate your order. But please know that these are the phases, holistically speaking, that we go through when we are introducing Agile and anything else that goes along that. If you want to go from Agile Scrum to your scale, it's all change, and it comes back to the same phases. And if we are aware of those things, I believe that we would be a lot more effective from day one. I wish they would have given me stuff from day one. It would have saved me a lot of pain and agony, especially when I went on my own as a consultant. So thank you guys. I so appreciate you. I want to ask you one last question. Again, this is all anonymous and you see it. I don't know anybody. Did today's topic increase your awareness or knowledge about how adult transformation learning occurs? Yes, no, still digesting, not sure. Feel free to provide your, I just want to get, this is the way that I can become better. It applies to me. I'm like, yes, I'm work in progress. I'm always going to be whipped. So I tell people, I will always be looking for transformational opportunities because that's where I want to become my best day to day. So I am so glad. I thank you so much for your time. I hope that if there's anything that you guys ever want to further explore, there's so much. I try to combine, to compress this into the time that we have. It's very difficult, but there's a lot of things here that if you wanted to have follow-up, please let you know, we can work through whatever angle you'd like to focus on. If it's something that we can do a workshop on, let me know. If anything that can help you, I'm here. I'm very service oriented, so that's not going to change. And I think that's what also makes me an effective Agilist, is that I'm very service oriented. I want to help people out. So I think that I'm talking to the choir when it comes to that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rosis. Can you also help us remind who the author of this book is that you were sourcing?
Jack. Yes.
Because a lot of us, at least in the skilled Agile world, know a lot about Cotter, John Cotter.
Oh, yes, yes.
So,
yeah. So, let me tell you, this little book, I know compared to, remember college books, they can be like this. This book is not for when you're tired, because the terminology can sometimes throw you off. But Jack Mesereau, he died probably about 10 years ago or so. But he made such a dent in education. And then it went on to, I'm like now, like trying to keep this alive, a lot of the topics for corporate. Because in corporate, we should have adult educators, like just on that. Instead, we have trainers, but that's 10% of the learning that we do. We don't do most of our learning through training. And so we don't have people. Agile is of the few methodologies, frameworks out there that comes into an organization and says, these are the roles. This is how we do Agile. There's a manifesto, da, 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 da. And you're like, wow. So believe it or not, I found a lot of things coming from the corporate world into this. And I went, well, we got 5 steps, 5 through 10. We got this. I told my professors 1 through 5. Maybe you guys educators have that, but we can mind that. We can get good at that. And so understanding that. So just look him up. It says white papers. If you want anything specific, let me know. I'll be happy to also share PDFs and things. There's a lot of PDFs out there on him, on his thinking.
Wonderful. Rosis, I did share a Google sheet that has contact information in there. They're able to email Agile Boulder. If you would like to share some, I can liaise if you'd like to share some sort of contact information there where people can reach out.
Would you share? Did you send me the link? Whichever way you can put it. If it's open, you can post it here, I think, and so I can follow. I can definitely, yeah. I know I'm not in Denver, guys, but if there's anything that I can help with, please don't hesitate. Anyone, yeah.
Nicole,
you can tell I'm passionate about this stuff. Yeah.
Yes, that's wonderful.
There is people always say, yeah, and sometimes I say yes to you just so that you get away, just go. So I said, well, that's what persistence is. I'm like, I'm an Agilist, I'm committed. So yeah, definitely. I should be committed. People say, yeah, that also, I get a joke on that too. Oh, she should be committed. God, dear Lord, there she comes. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. I'm gonna share. If there's anything else, guys, I think, like I said, you'll have my information here. Anything else that anybody wants to add? Including my facilitators and everything, and anyone from the group tonight. Okay.
I just want to say thank you. That was awesome. I'm totally pumped. Like, I love learning new stuff, and
Yes.
It was great. Thank you.
And try to see how can, and especially what helps you and what doesn't help you. Because I'm always looking at, and believe me, I am a pain in the butt to my professors as well. There are things that I just challenge. I just know that in real life doesn't work, like that kind of thing. So I try to keep it real. So hopefully you guys have seen that tonight, that, you can talk to me. I try to be very approachable and very real. And at the same time, very compassionate to the people that I serve. So I think we're in great company. Thank you for this
Wonderful.
opportunity, guys. I appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rosis. So what we usually do as speakers is we'll do a quick retro after. And so I will end the call. I'll stop the recording and I'll end the call. And Kristen will be cutting this part out of this discussion. And then I'll just have you guys rejoin the same link. We'll do a quick retro.
Okay. So you guys don't want me, correct? I'm out.
No. A retro with your experience as a speaker, so we can improve as organizers.
Oh, is that a retro about the presentation? Gotcha. I'm like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So another link.
Yeah. No. Just use the same link you did to join this.
Okay. All right. What time?
We'll just drop and then allow for a little bit of a bio break and rejoin the same link.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I am not sure where to stop the recording. Stop recording.